All right, everybody, I think we'll get started. First of all, thank you for attending the Act 211 Uniform Dwelling Code eSLA training webinar. My name is Mike McNally. I'm with the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services. I'm a section chief overseeing the Uniform Dwelling Code, or otherwise known as the UDC program. What you see on the screen today is it shows our DSPS logo, the eSLA site. We don't have any actual presentation to be displaying today. We do have a live demo when we get to that point that we'll have our screen shared and you'll be able to see it. But for the very first part of the presentation today, you're just going to be listening to myself provide you guys some updates as it pertains to the Act 211 system moving into eSLA. Now, the reason for today's webinar is to provide you an overview of the Act 211 UDC building permit system moving into the department's electronic safety and licensing application, or otherwise known as eSLA. Now, please note today's presentation is being recorded, which will be available on the department's website. So if you need to refer back to this presentation in the future, you'll be able to do so. Now, before I dive into today's presentation, I just want to give you guys a high-level overview of the topics today or today's agenda. The first thing is just a quick introductions of who is here from the department's aspects. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the historical context of the Act 211 piece of legislation, as well as the overall system, because some of you joining us today may be some new inspectors or even new clerks that probably are not too familiar of where the term Act 211 came from. Then we're going to move into just an overview of the department's initiative and what is eSLA in general. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the actual Act 211 migration moving into eSLA. In addition to that, I'm going to speak a little bit about some critical timelines that will affect most of you on the call today. Then we will actually move into a high-level demo of the new Act 211 system. We are going to have one of our staff members actually show you a high-level demo of the effects of the new Act 211 system being moved into eSLA. After the demo, we're going to provide you just some information about particular job aids and user guides that will be available to you once the system does go live. And then in addition to that, we're going to provide you how you can contact us for any assistance when the system does go live. And then from there, we're going to basically allow any questions that you guys might have, and we'll be able to field any questions that you do have. And then we'll close out the meeting. Going back to the questions portion of things, today's presentation is using GoToWebinar. The GoToWebinar is a platform that allows you as participants to ask us any questions. Now, your microphones are unmuted, so we ask that if you have any questions to please type them up, and please use the questions feature that is located on the GoToWebinar. Please do not use the chat feature. We ask that you use the questions feature. Myself, as well as some of the other representatives today from the department, will be monitoring those questions. And again, we'll bring up those questions at the time of the presentation, and we'll try and address and answer them all at once. So I do ask that you hold your questions to the end. However, you can always type in the question at any point in time in the questions feature. And of course, we'll try and get to that question if we can during the time it's asked, but if we can't, we'll definitely address it at the time towards the end of today's presentation. All right, so moving into just some high-level introductions. Again, my name is Mike McNally. For those that are joining late, I am a section chief overseeing the UDC program at the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services. We have a number of staff from DSPS joining us today. I'm not going to go over every single person here. However, there's a couple key people that I want to acknowledge. The first is Lenny Cantor, who is a UDC consultant. with the department. Some of you are very familiar with Lenny. You've probably worked with Lenny in the past with the Act 211 system, or even just general code questions pertaining to the UDC. In addition to Lenny, we also have Etta Scry, who's a program and policy analyst with the department, with the Division of Industry Services within the department. And she will be providing a high-level overview or demo of the new Act 211 system. One person that's missing today is Jack Wetruba. Some of you are probably familiar with Jack. He's another team member, just like Lenny. He's a UDC consultant. And so those individuals that I just mentioned are very familiar with the Act 211 system as it is today, as well as the features of the Act 211 system. So any one of those individuals should be able to help you in the future. And I will get to the context for assistance at the time of the presentation. In addition to that, we also have a variety of other staff attending today's presentation from the department's IT partner, and that is Deloitte. Deloitte was our partner that we used to develop the eSLA system, as well as some of the functionality. And I'll touch on that in a little bit here, but Deloitte is also available today for today's presentation. So if there's any technical questions from a programming perspective, they'll be able to assist and answer any of those questions. Now moving into a little bit of historical context, like I wanted to state in the agenda, is that some of you are probably not familiar with Act 211. So I'm going to give you just a high-level brief summary of the Act 211 piece of legislation. And as most of you are aware, like I stated, the Act 211 electronic building permit system was developed by the department back in 2015 based on the 2015 Wisconsin Act 211, which was passed by the legislature and signed into law by the governor with an effective date of March 1st, 2016. The law requires the municipalities and their agents to provide their UDC permit data electronically to the department through an approved electronic system. And these permits must be submitted to the department by the 15th of the first month after it's issued. And if you want to go back and look at that piece of legislation, you certainly can do so. It is referencing statute 101.65 to be exact. Now, if a municipality fails to submit the permit data by the required timeline, then a refund of the amount paid for the building permit, minus the state seal, of course, shall be given back to the permit applicant. This could either be the dwelling contractor or the homeowner, whoever is the applicant of the permit. Now, back in 2015, 2016, in order to ensure compliance with Act 211, municipalities must contact the department, most specifically the UDC staff of Jack Wetruba or Lenny Cantor, and obtain the necessary access codes, as well as choose the method and how they want to submit that data electronically to the department. Now, the department, at the time the Act 211 system was developed, offered three specific unique ways for the municipality to adhere to the statute of 101.65 or Act 211. Option one is where a municipality actually uses the Act 211 system for their permit applicants to go online, submit a permit, the permit gets submitted to the municipality, and the municipality goes into what's known as a municipal workspace, and then they can approve or deny the permit. And once they approve the permit, it's automatically sent directly to the department electronically, and therefore they adhere to that particular statute. The department also set up option number two, which is why you guys are here today. Option two is where you guys use an actual Excel document where you upload that Excel document with all of your UDC building permit information through the municipal workspace. And then option three, the department offered, is where a municipality either uses their own in-house permitting system or a third-party permit system, where that data on those particular systems get automatically sent to the department through what's known as an application programming interface, or otherwise known as API. It's basically a bridge between the municipality's system and the department system. And all of those three options were available to the municipalities across the state to adhere to that particular piece of legislation. So that's just a brief overview of the Act 211 piece of legislation as well as the system. Now I want to just kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about eSLA. Now the department have, as most of you probably on the call today, clerks and inspectors, the department offers a multitude of different programs specifically for construction activities. These things include commercial building plan review, elevator plan review, electrical permitting, amusement park rides, boiler permits, as well as credentials for various inspectors. All of these services that were provided by the department have multiple different antiquated systems over the years to manage all of those features. Some of those go back to the 1980. The department, as part of a multi-year initiative, developed a long-term goal to move all of these antiquated systems into one system to manage all of those services for the construction industry, as well as upgrade its technology. The multi-year initiative has been broken down into multiple phases, and each phase has multiple releases. The department partnered with Deloitte, our IT vendor, to develop the new system. And the system we call Electronic Safety and Licensing Application. That particular name, or the acronym of eSLA, is actually using a software called Salesforce. And we'll kind of dive into that here in a little bit. Now, currently, the department is wrapping up phase 1 of that multi-year initiative, and we are actually in the last release of phase 1. And this last release is actually moving the existing Act 211 system that currently was designed in 2016 and moving it into eSLA, or the Salesforce system. Now, it should be noted that the Act 211 system that you're using today, and this is something that I want to make sure that you guys understand, because I know this is probably going to be a pretty prevalent question. The same system that you're using today will have the same look, the same feel when it moves over into eSLA. There are a few exceptions to that, and one of Edis Try, who's our program policy analyst, will explain some of those here in a little bit, and I'll touch on that in a minute as well. But for all intents and purposes, the same look and feel that you as municipal clerks or even inspectors, that you go into the municipal workspace, the same look, the same feel, how you access the system is different. There are, again, a few exceptions to that. Now, moving into the actual Act 211 system, moving over into eSLA, I want to touch on a few of those particular critical items that I want to make sure that everybody understands and knows before we do move over the Act 211 system. Now, the first thing is the overall timeline. The department is going to move the Act 211 system into eSLA on the evening of July 15th. However, the system will not be available to you as a municipality until it's moved over into the new system on July 19th. Therefore, I want to make sure you guys understand there will be a blackout period. So between the evening of July 15th and the morning of July 19th, you will not be able to access the eSLA system. Even this would include both the old Act 211 system as well as the new Act 211 system. So there will be a blackout period. This means that if you have any permits that you want to submit on, say, July 16th, unfortunately, you will not be able to do that until July 19th. Now, for you as municipalities that are currently signed up using option 2, which is today's presentation, there are a couple key things that I want to make sure you understand. The biggest change for you as a municipality when we move over the Act 211 system into eSLA is the fact that we are no longer using a Microsoft Excel file, but we are using what's known as a CSV file. So it's sort of the same thing, it's just converted to a different file format. And Etta will show that too here in a little bit. So one of the key factors that you guys are using today is that the Microsoft Excel file is available to you right on the Municipal Workspace. That file you use to download, and then of course you enter all of your building permit data onto that Excel file, and then you upload that file to the department. Well, the department is still going to have that same feature with a few exceptions, such as converting that file to what's known as a CSV. And again, Etta will kind of show you that here in a moment. Now, another key important factor that I want to make sure you're aware of is that all of your existing permit data that you had up until July 15th will be available to you in the new system in your Municipal Workspace. So all your permits that you've approved that were in your Municipal Workspace, they will be viewable and available to you on July 19th. Also, I want to make sure that you're aware that with this transition of the Act 211 system moving over into eSLA, one of the big critical things is that the websites or the URLs will change. So if you have any existing say Municipal Workspace links on your desktop or your internet browser saved as a favorite, or even if it's on your municipal website page for internal processes, you're going to have to make sure that you change that to the new URL. And so I want to make sure that you understand that your old URL come July 19th will no longer work. You're going to have to make sure you change it to the new URL. Now, one of the most important notes associated with the internet and the URL and the website is that you as a municipality have to use Chrome, or it's highly recommended that you use Chrome as your internet browser. Chrome is what we recommend as the department to use the system. However, I do want to point out that Safari as well as Firefox will also work too. Now, one of the big key things here is that Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge will not work. So I want to repeat that. Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge will not work with this new website. So again, I want to just stress that it's imperative that you use Chrome. Again, however, Safari or Firefox will be available, will be an internet browser that could be used to access the system. So that's just some high-level items that I want to make sure you guys understand when we do move the Act 211 system over into eSLA. Now I want to kind of turn the presentation over to Etta Straya, and Etta will share her screen and give you guys just a high-level snapshot demo of the Act 211 system as it pertains to using option number 2. So Etta, can you take it away?
Thanks, Mike. Can everybody see my screen and hear me?
I can, Etta.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, John. All right. So this screen that I have up, this is kind of the main landing page for eSLA. Any of the links on the DSPS website will take you to this main page. For other programs, applications, and credentials, a login is required here. But for UDC permits, the inspector is not required to log in. So you can avoid this by using the UDC Municipal Login link at the top menu bar, this blue bar here. The UDC Municipal Login is here. So you can click on that. And you might consider bookmarking directly to the Municipality Workspace page, since you won't need to log in at that landing page. However, if you work in other credentials or other programs, you might be more familiar with eSLA and using that landing page. So just as in the existing system, you can access your municipality's workspace by using the provided access code. So let's just do an example here. And it takes you to the Village of Swamico is the municipality I chose with the access code I had. So it takes you to the workspace. And again, this is just like the existing system. I believe Mike mentioned the access codes will remain the same when eSLA goes live, so you'll not be provided a new code. So as a municipality that has chosen option 2, the first thing you'll have to do is download the CSV template. So as Mike mentioned, we have gone away from the XLSX template, and you must now use a CSV template. So I'll just click on this to show you what happens here. It downloads as a zip file here, and the CSV file template is here, and then it also includes, the zip file also includes some CSV file instructions, and these pretty much just kind of walk you through, I can open it, these pretty much just walk you through the data that's required and the format that it's required. It's a good, pull it over. It's a good guidance document that walks you through the rows. Actually, I believe this has been updated to now be the Excel column number, like AA, C, whatever. That's listed here, and then each data represented in that column is here, and then the sample and the format as required. So this will be really good as you use the template. Then you can open the template, and just like the existing system, you'll enter in all of your permit information here. It's just very similar. Required information is noted with an asterisk. And one other thing to note is that every application number has to be unique. So when you upload the CSV file, it's going to validate the application number to make sure you're not duplicating any permits. And then when you're ready to upload, you would just use the upload permit link. You would choose a file. And then submit file for processing. And here I have an error, which is because there is a duplicate application number. So this is something else to note, that when you have an error, it's going to give you a message, and it's going to tell you the row number, the application number, and the error that you are seeing. When you have a CSV file that is correct, this will be green, and it will show that there was a success in the upload. One thing to note with the new CSV template is that formatting is extremely important. So make sure you use the guide and the hints in the column headings to ensure that you are including the correct data as it's required in the correct format. I can see about fixing the CSV file, but it's the main thing we want to get across is that it's just very similar to your existing system, other than the fact that you need to pay attention to the formatting just a little bit more. Permits from the CSV file will be processed to eSLA 1 to 2 times per day. So after you upload the CSV file, it's not going to be immediately available, but it should be available later that day. Once they are available, the batch process is complete. You can go through this search permit filter here. You can filter by dates or by any of this information, search, and it'll show you the permit information that you have previously uploaded. We recommend that after you upload the CSV file that you do check this to make sure that your permit information was successfully and accurately uploaded. The last item that you might want to know about is the settings, which doesn't look like it's available at this moment, but there's typically a settings link that allows you to update the inspector and clerk information. Oh, no, that would not be required here as an option 2. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's correct.
You would not need to upload. So I believe that would be it for this walkthrough.
I have a couple of questions that have come in from our audience here, and if you could, and I think they pertain maybe here to what you specifically have been working on here, if I could get a couple of those for you.
Sure.
The first question I have is, Londa has asked, I've never used an application number. I let it number itself, example 1, 2, 3. Can I do the same?
Yes and no. Mike Miller can jump in if he'd like, but it is going to be, it is an, I guess what you'd call an identifier, and you can't have the same. So what I would recommend is somehow putting the date in there that signifies that, you know, like some sort of prefix in a date format, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, or vice versa, just so that you can have your 1, 2, 3, 4 for that month, and then the next month you have a different set of 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I would recommend.
Okay, and the next question that I have, is there a category for application number? Or I'm sorry, it says there is a category for application number and a category for permit number. Are these supposed to be the same? And if not, what are they supposed to use?
I believe the application number is specific to the application, and the permit number is specific to the approved permit, because you may have an application that does not result in a permit. So I believe how those are numbered is based on your municipality's business practice.
Yes, that's correct, Etta.
And they, as far as the CSV upload goes, they can be the same numbers if you want them to be.
Okay, the next question that I have might have already been answered, but Gary is asking, who issues the application number?
That would be the municipality or inspector.
Okay, thank you. Next question. I have owners act as general contractor and have always input NA into those sections if it is the owner. Can I continue to do this?
The contractor, the dwelling contractor and dwelling contractor qualifier will not be required information if the owner is the applicant, and that will be noted. That's one of the required information that's noted.
I'd like to add, this is Lenny, I'd like to add that's the owner who is going to reside in the dwelling upon completion.
Correct. Yep. And as far as typing specifically NA in there, we have tested that a little bit, and there are certain data fields that are required to be in a certain format, like a phone number or a date. And an email address, those items have to be in the required format. They cannot be NA. So just pay attention to that guidance document and the required formatting.
Okay, I'm seeing a question from Tim here. Tim answered earlier on. He's got two questions. Are we going to change the layout of the new spreadsheet body, rows, columns, etc.? And if not changing the layout of the spreadsheet, are they still able to copy and paste their cloned spreadsheet cells into the new spreadsheet and upload?
The information required is the same, but as mentioned, the formatting is very specific now that this is a CSV file. So anything that, for example, if you're using commas in the old template, commas will not work in the new template. So again, you just need to pay close attention to formatting requirements, and then once you learn those requirements, I think it'll be pretty simple. But currently, you may not be able to just copy and paste from a different spreadsheet.
Okay, and it looks like we got Gary's question answered. Londa's got a follow-up question where she had asked before about never using an application number. She indicated that each month she enters the entire previous month and has never changed the application numbers. So it sounds like she may need to change what she's been doing in practice.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. The way the system works, and Etta explained this a little bit, is that if the system recognizes that that number has been used, it will give you an error message. I think Etta showed an example of that. So yes, they will have to have a unique application number for each application.
Okay. Scott is asking, are contractor emails still required? Apparently they are not required by code.
I don't believe the Mike Miller or Lenny, are the emails required by the contractors?
I think that, so Mike, the way that your legacy system worked is for the dwelling contractors and the dwelling contractor qualifiers, emails were not required. That same requirement continues, but for plumbing and electrical contractors, emails were required. We maintain that same consistency.
Okay. So to answer that question, I'm not sure who asked the question. I don't have the question screen up here, John, but yeah, so where it's still required today in this legacy system, it's the same for this new system.
Okay, so the requirements are not changing.
Correct.
Okay, hopefully that, let's see, Scott's got a, Colin is asking, is the application number a takeoff of the DSPS submittal practice? He doesn't know any municipality that uses both an application number and a separate permit number.
I'll field this one. Again, I think Etta explained it too. It all depends on each individual municipality and their own internal operations. Etta explained a little bit of this too, is that an application is basically an unapproved permit. Some municipalities, depending on their own internal operations, sometimes have an application number for a permit, because sometimes those permits, those applications don't turn into permits. And when they do turn into a permit, some municipalities have a unique permit number that's maybe different than the application number. Now, I'll just kind of do a little bit of a side note here. Every single municipality across the state is completely different than the next. We have everything from very small townships that have a part-time inspector and a part-time clerk, and that's the size of their municipality, their township. We also have extremely large cities across the state, right? West Allis, Waukesha, Madison, Green Bay. They are very large municipalities that sometimes have a clerk and a deputy clerk and maybe have a multitude of different inspectors that are employees of that municipality. So every single municipality has their own internal operations, their own internal procedures. And some municipalities actually use some kind of an application number for an application that comes in for a permit, and then they will turn those into an actual permit number when it's approved. It all depends on each individual municipality. If your municipality that you are working in today, if you're an inspector and they don't really have that type of system, then you know, whatever numbering system that you use, you can certainly use it for both your application and permit number. We as a department do not take a position as to what you should or should not do in terms of your numbering sequence within your own individual municipality.
Okay, one more question here. Can the application be alphanumeric or a symbol?
Mike Miller, can they do symbols? I think they can do alphanumeric, but can they do symbols?
Yeah, alphanumeric would be fine. And again, I think you can use the same for those that do not have application numbers. I think you can use your permit number that you're assigning. We're just using the application number as a unique identifier to ensure that the same application is not getting uploaded multiple times.
Okay, thank you. And then I've got 3 questions that are pretty much identical. They're asking for, they're asking if the CSV template is available to send to their software copy or to their software company. It sounds like there's others that are also looking for a copy of the new spreadsheet.
Yeah, we will have it available. It's probably not going to be fully available this week, but we could probably have it available next week, and I'll touch on that here in a minute when we get to job aids and user guides, but we will have it available at some time. Again, the system is not completely done yet. What Edit is showing you is what's known as a pre-production environment. It's basically our testing environment. This is not a public website at this current time, so you can't, as a municipality, you can't access this right now. And so this pre-production environment does have that file structure in there. It has all of the internal workings, and it's sort of our testing environment. We will not have the actual production environment until July 19th, or we may have it available a little bit before there. Before then, but at this current time, the production environment is not available. And so when we do have the CSV file available, we could certainly probably put that on the website.
Thank you, Mike. That is all that I have for questions right now. We'll get to more questions a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Edda, did you have any more?
I did not. I did another example in the background while we were answering questions of the successful upload. So this is what your screen will look like. After you successfully upload the CSV file.
All right, thank you. All right, again, if you have any additional questions, please use the question chat feature, and we'll get to those here in a moment. All right, thank you, Edda. The next portion of the agenda is, like I stated before, some job aids and user guides. Currently, the department is still working with Deloitte in the development of those job aids and user guides. Currently, at this point in time, we do have them pretty well in a high-level draft format, and which we are still working with Deloitte to finalize those documents and have them available to you most notably the one that Etta just referred to, such as the guidance document or job aid for you as a municipality to follow along with all of those special features, such as don't use commas and don't use the NAs. And there's some other things that are going to be in that step-by-step job aid available to you. All of those documents will be available on our UDC web page. Now, most of the inspectors on the call today are probably pretty familiar with our UDC web page. However, some of the clerks that may be on the call today may not be. You can certainly go to our main website, which is dsps.wi.gov. You can click on programs, then A to Z program list, and then scroll down until you find 1 and 2 family dwellings. And then from there, the website will have all of the information you need. It'll have the job aids, the user guides for all 3 of our options, including the ones that you need today, which is option 2. So please check back. Our goal is, check back to our website. Our goal is to have those job aids and user guides available next week. That's our goal anyway, is to have them next week so that you'll be able to use them. In addition to that, like I stated before, we'll try and do our best to get the CSV file uploaded to the website if you want to use it to work with your internal municipality or IT programmers, whatever you need to do there. But our goal is to have that all available. Our goal is to have it available before the system goes down on July 15th. Now, in addition to that, I just want to talk a little bit about assistance. Now, this is still a new endeavor for not only us, but you guys. So we understand that there's probably still going to be a lot of questions even from today's presentation, starting after today's presentation. And give me a second here, I lost my notes for a second. So we understand that there'll probably still be a lot of questions. The UDC program or our UDC staff of Jack Witruba and Lenny Cantor are always available to answer any questions. They may not be able to answer the specific question at the time. They may need to work with our IT vendor partner, Deloitte, to answer those questions, or we need to chat about a question that you might have, but we will get back to your question. It may not be right away, but we'll do our best to answer any questions that you guys have about the Act 211 system moving over into eSLA. Now, obviously, the UDC program has Jack Witruba and Lenny Cantor, which most of you as inspectors are probably pretty familiar working with. However, we also do have a UDC tech box that you can always use. Now, some of you as inspectors do use that on a regular basis. You can submit the questions there. Both Jack and Lenny monitor that tech box, that email box for any questions as it relates to code or the Act 211 system, whatever it may be. In addition to that, we have all of this information that I just mentioned. We have Jack's contact information, we have Lenny's contact information, we have the tech box all located on our UDC website. So you can always go back to that to find the contact information you need. In addition to that, because we are moving over into eSLA, we have available to you the eSLA support email inbox, and that is actually eSLAsupport@wisconsin.gov. And it is that individual email is also available right on the eSLA website. When you go there, you can always go back to that eSLA website, and that email link is there. So if you want to submit a question there, you certainly can do so as well. We have a whole team of department staff monitoring questions that come into that individual email box, not just specifically for UDC, but for all the other programs that we have moved over into eSLA. Again, these are things like commercial building plan review, electrical permitting, boiler permits, a whole a variety of eSLA questions that come in there. And again, we have a whole team of department staff monitoring those inbox questions. So we will try and do our best to get back to you with any questions you guys might have. Now, with that being said, I want to again reiterate that most of the same functionality, a good majority of the same functionality that you're doing today in the Act 211 system is predominantly going to be the same in the municipal workspace, except for those few little things that Etta showed today, such as it has to change to a CSV file, as well as some of the things like commas and NAs, and there's a couple other things that will be very well detailed out for you on the job aid. So for the most part, majority of what you're doing today in terms of your internal operations are really not going to change a whole lot, except for if you have some kind of specialized programming of your Excel spreadsheet that may have to change because now we're going to a CSV file. But for the most part, everything else you're doing is pretty much the same as you're doing today. It's just going to be at a different website to do it. So that pretty much concludes the agenda items for today. So I guess we have come to the point of the presentation for any questions that you guys might have. So I guess, John, do we have any additional questions that have come in since Eda's presentation?
Yes, we do. I've got a question from Scott asking, do the Amish still need an email address as the owner occupant?
I mean, the system still requires an email. That's not going to change. So I'm not sure what you're doing today for any permits based on religious sect, but if you had some of those today or before we move over to the system, you would have to still provide some email address. Now, who that is, that will be up to you and the owner of that permit to make that determination on what email address you want to use.
Okay, thank you. And someone has just followed up to indicate that the email section has previously allowed them to put in NA into the email. So I'm not sure if that is still going to be an option.
Mike, I don't think we can do NA anymore, right?
No, it needs to be in a valid email format.
Yeah, it has to be a valid email format, but it could be blank, right?
Well, that one's a required, yeah, that one's a required field, but
yeah.
I don't know if you want to do something, Mike, like since if they were previously using NAs, just do NA@email.com for that type of situation.
Oh, okay. We can address that.
Yeah.
We'll make a note of that. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. We will make sure the job aid reflects that. I will make myself a personal note to do that.
And I think you may have touched on this already, but Gary has got additional questions here asking if the column headings are exactly the same. And I believe that you indicated that they were going to be the same. And if you can't use NA, then what are you supposed to use? And I believe you indicated that that might be addressed in the job aid, correct?
Correct.
Super. And it looks like though that is all of the questions we have so far. Hopefully we've answered them all to your satisfaction and completeness anyhow. If you have the ability to look in the chat window, I did post the link for the UDC website or the UDC address, from our website. That should be a direct link for you. Again, as Mike indicated, you can get there by going to our main page and going under programs and then searching for UDC. One more question that has just come in from Grace indicated, once the state submittals are completed, are there any type of confirmations or other communications sent to the contacts or sent to the contacts provided?
No, not for option 2 municipalities, no. There is, and EDA does show on the screen there that when a file has been successfully uploaded, that's just an indication to who's ever in the municipal workspace that the file was successfully uploaded. We don't take care of any other communication back to the submitter or to the inspector who uploaded the file.
Looks like there's one more question here from Londa asking that when this is up and running, is it their responsibility to get the CSV spreadsheet?
The CSV spreadsheet will be available right on the municipal workspace. So I think you showed that. If you, right on the municipal workspace, you actually have access to the spreadsheet. It's going to be right there for you to fill out. And Etta is showing that there where it says download CSV template. That's always going to be there available to you.
Okay. Are there any other questions that we have? Again, as Mike had indicated, this webinar is being recorded and a link will be available on our website next week. So if you or anyone wishes to revisit this or wasn't able to attend today's session, that will be available on that UDC website.
All right, thank you, John. So I thank everybody for attending today. This kind of closes out our presentation. Again, I want to reiterate a few things. The existing Act 211 system will be shut down on the evening of July 15th and will not be available until July 19th. In the new system, it will be available on July 19th. So please keep that in mind. Again, also on top of that, it's highly recommended that you use Chrome. Again, Safari or Firefox will work for your internet browser. And please note that Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge will not work. So again, just to round out today's presentation, we understand that, again, this is a new endeavor for most of you. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our UDC staff. You can certainly submit questions to the UDC tech box. You can also submit email questions to the eSLA support at wisconsin.gov. Now, most of you inspectors do have your UDC Inspector Credentials, which you guys probably are pretty familiar with eSLA. If you are on the eSLA website, you can again have access to that eSLA support at wisconsin.gov email address to submit any additional questions. And that concludes today's presentation. I thank you everybody for joining us today, and please have a safe and wonderful work week. Thank you, everybody.